Doing good by empathy. One of the best arguments for empathy is that it makes you kinder to the empath. It is supported by laboratory research, everyday experience, and common sense. So, if the world were a simple place where the only problems to deal with involve one person in immediate trouble, and where helping that person will have a positive effect, the foundations of empathy will be strong, but the world is not an easy place. Often, very often, I would argue action motivated by empathy is not morally right. Most laboratory studies do not take this complexity into account. The purpose of the experiments is to measure the effects of empathy based on some clearly good action, more help, more cooperation, more kindness to someone who clearly needs help. But there is one notable exception, a clever study by C. Daniel Batson and colleagues. Now, Batson has defended the empathy altruism hypothesis, the idea that empathy motivates others to help, but he doesn't argue that empathy necessarily has positive consequences. As he says, empathic altruism is neither moral nor immoral, it is amoral. To investigate this, he created a situation where empathy led people to an answer that most people, upon reflection, thought was wrong. He told his subjects about a charity called the Quality Life Foundation, which aimed to improve the life years of terminally ill children. Subjects were then told that they would hear interviews with individual children on the waiting list. Subjects with low empathy were told, when you listen to this interview, try to be objective about what is being described. Don't get caught up in the feelings of the child being interviewed. Just be objective and detached. And those with empathy were told, try to imagine how the child you are interviewing feels, what happened and how it affected that child's life. Try to feel the full impact of what the child has been through and how he feels as a result. Empathy is not the only aspect of our moral life that has a character focus. Emotions like anger, guilt, shame, and gratitude are similar. But not all psychological processes are limited in this way. We can engage in reasoning, including moral reasoning, which is more abstract. We can make decisions based on costs and benefits or by appealing to general principles. Presumably, the people who choose not to put Sherry Summers on the list did that. They didn't move her closer, but rather took a more distant perspective. Now, one might worry that this lost emotional perspective is too cold and impersonal. Perhaps the appropriate metaphor for this kind of dispassionate reasoning is the ugly illumination of a fluorescent light. We will get there. All I want to say is that the limitations of empathy are not inevitable. Relying on empathy for its positive qualities can lead to perceived consequences that no sane person will accept. You can see this in some fascinating psychological experiments. In one study, subjects were given $10 and then told they could give as much as they wanted to another person who had nothing. All this was anonymous. The other person was identified simply by the number the subject randomly drew. The twist was that some subjects drew a number and then decided how much to give, while others decided how much to give and then drew a number. Oddly enough, the people who drew the number first gave much more, 60% more, than those who decided first. Presumably because drawing the number first helped them imagine a specific person without money. rather than just an abstract person. In another study by the same research team, people were asked to donate money to Habitat for Humanity to build a family home. They were told either the family was chosen or the family is chosen. Again, this subtle variation made all the difference. Subjects in the first condition gave much more. Apparently, due to a shift between a constrained target, certain selected individuals, and a more abstract target, which could be selected in the future, a large number. Other studies compare how we respond to the suffering of one versus the suffering of many. Psychologists asked some subjects how much money they would give to develop a drug that could save the life of one child, and others how much they would give to save 8 children. People would give about the same amount either way, but when the third group of subjects were told the child's name and shown their picture, the gifts increased. Now, there were more gifts for 1 than for 8. All these laboratory effects can be seen as manifestations of the so-called detectable victim effect. Thomas Schelling, writing 40 years ago, put it this way. Let a 6-year-old brown-haired girl need thousands of dollars for an operation that will prolong her life until Christmas, and let the mail be full of nickels and dimes. But suppose that without the sales tax, the hospital facilities in Massachusetts would collapse and cause a barely perceptible increase in preventable deaths. Many don't shed tears or cash their checks. That effect also describes something more general about our natural emotions, namely that they are countless. When our concern is driven by thoughts of the suffering of some individuals, it creates a bird-served situation in which the suffering of one can be more important than the suffering of 1,000.